The TrimUI Brick is the second handheld to come from TrimUI, a vastly different style handheld to the TrimUI Smart Pro, but one that shares TrimUI's excellent attention to detail. A device designed to compete with the likes of the MIUI Mini and the RG28XX, a niche group of mini handhelds. But can the small TrimUI Brick pack a punch, or is it just another beautiful desk ornament? On the 2nd of December 2024, I started using the TrimUI Brick as my main console over the course of a week to answer these questions. And this is what happened. One of the things that first caught my eye online about the TrimUI Brick was just how cool it looked. I loved the sleek design and nice RGB touches. The two small RGB buttons on the front really add a lot of style to the brick. When mine finally arrived, ironically the day before my Retroid Pocket 5, which we'll talk about later, I was not disappointed at all. It was definitely smaller than I had anticipated, and I was happy about that. I didn't really need another mid-sized vertical handheld in the collection, but a MIUI Mini or an RG28XX competitor? Now I always have time for that. The TrimUI Brick looks absolutely stunning in real life. Both the black and white variants have a really sleek design that oozes quality. This is something that TrimUI seem to get absolutely spot on. The subtle branding touches, brilliant use of RGB lighting and customization options make the TrimUI Brick one of the best looking retro handhelds to date. I picked my favourite shoulder buttons from the selection provided and couldn't wait to get stuck into some gaming. My selection for the week was Worms Armageddon, Medal of Honor and Earthbound. I started off by playing Medal of Honor as it's a game I've dabbled in a bit over the past few weeks. Playing Medal of Honor on the TrimUI Brick was absolute pocket perfection. With the Brick being a competitor to the MIUI Mini 35XX and 28XX, it means it's highly pocketable and easy to take around with you anywhere you go. From the first day of the challenge, the TrimUI Brick did not leave my side, making it really easy for me to get some good progress on Medal of Honor. Something made even easier by the fact that the controls are so good. Medal of Honor is a game that has pretty heavy shoulder button use. Sometimes on vertical handhelds, especially ones this small, the shoulder buttons can be a bit awkward to use. But being able to customize your brick with a selection of 3 different shoulder button designs means it was easy for me to find the ones that worked for me the best. Something I was confused about at first though, was what the extra front 2 light up buttons were for. At first I thought they were start and select. Then I thought maybe they were emulation menu buttons, but they seemed to perform no function at all. It was only after a little digging that I realised they were extra FN function buttons like the slider on the TrimUI Smart Pro. The Brick has a slider on the side like the Pro, but it has 2 extra FN buttons on the front too. You can decide what function these have, and I opted for controlling the RGB lighting and screen brightness. A really nice and useful quality of life addition, plus they look really cool when lit up. The design and size of the TrimUI Brick also enabled me to get in a kind of gaming session I haven't been able to for a while, and that's one-handed gaming. Not really since the MIUI Mini have I been able to comfortably get in a one-handed gaming session. No, not like that, you dirty-minded people. I mean like when making a brew, eating a snack, or getting the kids to sleep. Now, Medal of Honor doesn't really work when it comes to one-handed gaming, as you kind of always need 2 hands to move around and shoot. But a game that works brilliantly with one-handed gaming is Earthbound. Earthbound, the legendary classic SNES game, is a game we never got over here in the UK. So for me and a lot of other UK gamers, it's relatively new to us. I first found out about Earthbound about 6 years ago and bought a copy on my 3DS. I started it over the Christmas but didn't really get that far into it before I ended up with the worst save state ever. The kind of save state that has you in a position where you'll always die and your last proper save point was ages ago. So I kinda left it. Over the years I keep planning to get back around to playing it, and the TrimUI Brick has brought about that perfect moment. Over the week, being able to take the Brick with me absolutely everywhere and not feel like it's taking up any space enabled me to get loads of Medal of Honor time in and Earthbound. In the car, breaks at my desk, and while getting the kids to sleep, the Brick fit perfectly into my life. So perfectly in fact, that it made me completely forget that my Retroid Pocket 5 was just sat there gathering dust. To put it into context, I've been so excited for my Retroid Pocket 5 to arrive for months now. Despite all the amazing handhelds I've been fortunate enough to test, the RP5 is the one I kept on thinking about and waiting for. When the Brick and Retroid Pocket 5 arrived within a day of each other, I thought it was going to be so hard to resist the temptation of playing the Retroid Pocket 5. Full disclosure, I did open the RP5 box, power it up and download games to it ready to play, but then put it back down and barely even thought about it again over the course of the week. Now, I'm not saying the TrimUI Brick is a better console than the Retro Pocket 5, as they are totally different consoles that cater to different use cases. But what I can say is that the TrimUI Brick fit in so naturally with my lifestyle and was always easily available to satisfy my gaming needs that the temptation to play a different console never crossed my mind. No word of a lie, I literally just wrote that sentence when my RP5 right next to me here just did the loudest notification. It's like it was listening and it knew what I was saying. The last time a handheld fit in so naturally to my week was the RG28XX, and you know how much I love that console. Well, the TrimUI Brick might just have toppled it for my perfect pocket console. When it came to PSP emulation, however, the TrimUI Brick did fall short. Split Second showed enough slowdown for it to not be enjoyable, and Chinatown Walls, although it ran smoothly, showed the limitations of not having an analog stick. The D-pad and stick controls of the PSP were both covered by the Brick D-pad, which meant double inputs when trying to drive around. So I decided to not bother anymore with PSP games. Dreamcast, on the other hand, was much better. I was able to crank out a couple of games of Crazy Taxi to get out that road rage while waiting for the school pickup, no problem whatsoever. Back to Earthbound though, and well, I decided to take a break again. Not because of a dodgy save state this time, but because I was talking about it with a Retro Refresh crew, and we decided to play it all together starting in January. So I moved on to finding a new one-handed game. Worms Armageddon was a great choice, but I fancied those top-down vibes and came across Stardew Valley. Now, I've seen these ports before, but never really given them a chance, as I always assumed there'd be some crappy version of the original. But I started up Stardew and was amazed to realise it was the full game. And what a superb game to play one-handed. I spent hours that night sorting out my farm, only for the game to crash and lose all my progress. When I started it back up, it wasn't even in the same language. At first, I thought this must have been the port, but then I realised it was the crappy SD card that came with it. A quick order on Amazon and a copy of all the contents from the old card to the new card, and I was up and running again. I always say you should make sure you use a decent SD card instead of the usual one supplied, but honestly, I rarely follow my own advice as I go through these consoles so quickly. But with the TrimUI Brick, I just know this is going to be a console I have with me and use for a very long time. It's the first console in a while to feel like a forever console, a status held by only a few. Prior to the TrimUI Brick, the console that fitted into my highly pocketable take with me everywhere category was the RG28XX. But I can honestly see the Brick taking that place with its beautiful looks and ability for one-handed gaming. The RG28XX still feels more durable though, as the Brick looks and feels so premium I fear for any marks or scratches on it. I already have one tiny scratch on the screen despite being really careful with it. I guess that's the risk of an everyday pocket console. If you want to get yourself an awesome TrimUI Brick, links are in the description below. But if you want to check out the RG28XX, then check out this video right here.